Okay, Rabbi Isai, let's get started. We are on Daf Ayin Gimel Amid Aleph, but we've gone sufficiently distant into the page. We're up to the word Ravina Amar, which is beyond the halfway point on the Amid. It's maybe like 3/5 down on the page, Ravina Amar. Let's just get our bearings. Let's remind ourselves where we are in the Daf. The Mishnah had told us yesterday that there is a entitlement that the Kohen has to the Shirayim. Once he does the Kemitza, then there's 10 different kinds of menachos for which he gets the Shirayim and he gets to eat that. And the Gemara then had asked the question, how do we know that the Kohen gets it? So the Gemara says, what kind of question is that? The Torah says the Kohen gets the Shirayim. So the Gemara says, you're right, but what about barley? Because the Torah only mentions that in terms of wheat menachos. What about the barley menachos, like the korban ha'omer and the korban sota, the minchas kanos of the sota? How do you know that the Kohen gets the shirayim there as well? So the Gemara then said, well, why shouldn't he get it? If the Torah says to do kemitza, then doesn't that automatically imply that what's ever left goes to the Kohen? So the Gemara says that would be true according to the Chachamim. But according to Reb Shimon, in our Mishnah we saw yesterday, Reb Shimon says that even if there's a minchas chote of a Kohen, where a Kohen brings a sin offering for a sin he's committed, let's say he came into the Beis HaMikdash in a state of Tumah, so he's got to bring a korban, he brings a korban mincha to atone for that. The Chachamim say, since the mincha of a Kohen is supposed to be completely burnt on the Mizbeach, there's no purpose in doing Kemitza, because you're not dividing between anything that's meant for one sphere, for one realm, which is the Mizbeach, versus the other realm, which is for human consumption. But Reb Shimon disagrees. Reb Shimon says no. Even though the entire mincha is meant for the Mizbeach, you still have to do Kemitza, take the komets and put it on one place on the Mizbeach, and place the Shirayim and put it on another place on the Mizbeach. So you see clearly that according to Reb Shimon, you do kemitza even when the Kohen doesn't get the Shirayim. So the question therefore is, according to Reb Shimon, how do you know that a Kohen is entitled to the Shirayim of a barley mincha? That was the question. Yesterday, the Gemara brought a series of psukim where there's extraneous verbiage to tell me that source. But now we get to another answer, which is the answer of Ravina. Ravina Omar Asya Midatani Levi. Ravina says, I derive it from a brisa that was taught by Levi. The Tani Levi, l'chol karbanam, l'chol minchasam, l'chol chatasam, l'chol ashamam. There's a pasuk that talks about the right that a Kohen has to the mincha, because the Torah says, referring to mincha, l'chol mincha v'lulav hashemen v'chareva, that any mincha that is either mixed with oil or that is dry, meaning not mixed with oil, L'chol b'nei Aharon tihya ish ke'achiv, that it belonged to the sons of Aharon. The preceding pasuk had said, sorry, I'm quoting the wrong pasuk. I apologize. The pasuk is in Sefer Bamidbar, and it says, Zeh yeh lecha mikodesh hakodashim. This shall be for you from that which is holy of holies, min ha'esh, from the fire, all of the sacrifice, all of the mincha, all of the chatas, all of the asham, that shall belong to you, Aaron, and for your sons. Kodesh kodeshim lecha hu ulevanecha. It shall be holy of holies for you and your sons. So the question is, why do you need all of this verbiage to say that the Kohanim are entitled to the sacrificial portions? So kol karbanam l'rabos log shemen shel mitzorah. The words kol karbanam teaches me that not only does the Kohen get the meat of the korban, but he also gets the leftover oil that is used in the purification process of the mitzorah. If you recall, the mitzorah, one of the portions of his purification is that you take oil, you take a log worth of oil, you pour it into your hand as the Kohen, and you take from your hand and you place it on his ear, his thumb, and his big toe. What do you do with the leftover oil? That too goes to the Kohen. Why do you need a special pasuk to tell me that? Because salka daita chamina min ha'esh kasav rachmana kamash malan. Because I might have thought that only that which is meant for the fire is the entitlement of the Kohen. So therefore, even though oil does not go on fire, we need a special pasuk to tell me that the Kohen gets the remnant nonetheless. L'chol minchasam, for all of the mincha, Now, what is that coming to teach? L'rabos minchas ha'omer u'minchas kanaos. That comes to teach me that even the shirayim of the omer barley offering and the sota barley offering goes to the Kohen. So that, of course, is our source text to tell me how I know that the Kohen gets the shirayim of a barley offering. Now, why would I have thought that those are different? Salka daita chamina va'achalu osam asher kupar bahem amarachman v'hai lahatir ka'asya v'idach nami levarer ka'asya kamash malan. He says, I would have thought that the whole reason why the Torah tells the Kohanim to take the shirayim and eat it is because that's part of the purification process. When you take a holy person and you have him eat a portion of your korban, that's how you get atonement for sin. I might have thought that's the whole reason why the Kohanim eat the shirayim. But when the korban is not being brought for atonement, for kapara, but it's being brought, let's say, for the korban ha'omer. The korban ha'omer is not mechaper for anything. What's it for? It's to permit you to eat chadash. What's the korban sota for? It's not to atone for a sin, but it's to clarify whether she committed adultery or not. And therefore, I might have thought that the Kohen is not entitled to shirayim in those instances. Therefore, you need a pasuk to tell me that he is. L'chol chatasam, for all of their sins, sin offerings, l'rabos chatas ha'of, salkadaita chamina nevelehi kamash malan. Now, why? I need a special pasuk to tell me that when you have a bird offering, where not all of the bird is placed on the mizbeach, the Kohen is allowed to eat the meat of that bird. Why would I have thought differently for birds? Because remember, what's the procedure of killing the bird? Not shchita, malika. And malika is something that I might have thought renders the bird only usable for the mizbeach. But since when is a bird that's killed by the nape kosher? So therefore the chiddush is that it is kosher. That's a legitimate form of killing a bird, even though if you did that outside of the temple, it would be a nevela. But if you do it for sacrificial purposes, it's permitted even la'achila. L'chol hashamam, for all of their guilt offerings, l'rabos asham nazir v'asham mitzayra. So the Brisa says that's coming to tell me that the Kohen gets the shirayim of the nazir's guilt offering and the mitzorah's guilt offering. So the Gemara says, why do you need a special pasuk for that? Asham mitzorah behedjik sivbe ki kachatas ha'asham hu la Kohen. The pasuk says explicitly by the laws of mitzorah that the asham is something that belongs to the Kohen. So why do you need a special pasuk for that? Ela l'rabos asham nazir ke asham mitzorah. But you're right, we misread the Brisa. What it means to say is that just like the Torah explicitly awards the Kohen the shirayim or the remnant of the korban asham of a mitzorah, so too it awards to the Kohen the meat of the korban asham that is being brought by a nazir. Now, why would I have thought it's any different? Because just like we said by the omer and the sota, these are not atoning sacrifices, and a nazir's sacrifice does not atone for sin, but rather it comes to permit him to engage in activities of a non-nazir, like drinking wine. And so therefore, you might have thought, since it's not an atoning korban, but rather it's a matir, it's something that's just coming to tell me what he's allowed to do now, maybe the Kohen is not permitted to partake of the shirayim, kamash malan. The next part of the pasuk says, Asher yashivu li, that which Bnei Yisrael give back to me shall be holy of holies to you, Aharon, and to your sons. So what are those words, Asher yashivu, that which they shall return? That is an allusion to Ze Gezel Hager. That refers to a korban that is brought when stealing from a convert. Now, what are we talking about over here? There's a halacha that if I steal from you and I have to return something back to you and you die, I give the money back to your heirs. What if I steal from a ger and the ger dies and he has no heirs, he has no halachic heirs? So the halacha is that money has to be returned to the kohanim. Now, what happens if a ger accuses me of stealing from him, I swear falsely to him that I don't owe him the money, and then he dies, and then I confess and I owe him the money? So the Torah says I have to pay him the money, plus I pay a chomesh, an extra fifth, plus I have to bring a korban, asham gezelos. So the Torah says that this korban asham, not only does the money go to the kohen, but also the korban asham also is eaten by the kohanim, and therefore I need a special pasuk for that. And shelcha hi ulevanecha vafilu lekadesh bo es ha'isha. And I'm sorry, the last part of the pasuk is L'chahi ulavanecha, that it belongs, L'chahu ulavanecha, it is for you and your sons. What is that phrase for? It's to tell me that when the Kohen is entitled to the shirayim of a korban, it is so much his that it can even be used as a financial instrument, meaning that it's completely his property. What do I mean by a financial instrument? I can go ahead and take the shirayim of flour and use it to be makadesh and isha, to present it to a woman for kiddushin. Not particularly romantic. Here, have some flour under the chuppah.
Go bake me something.
Yeah, go bake me some, bake me cookies, right? But nonetheless, it is financially the property of the Kohen. You might have thought that maybe it's not, because maybe it still belongs to Hashem. No. Once it's given to the Kohen, it's completely his. That's the conclusion of the Brisa.
You could have it as a kedusha, though, no? You can't just give it to anybody, could you?
Well, I believe that a Kohen is allowed to share it with his family members, if I'm not mistaken. So once he's makadesh the isha with it, she becomes permitted to eat it. But even if not, even if I'm mistaken in that, it still has financial value, because if she owns that flour, she could sell it to another Kohen, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think I'm mistaken on that.
You can't. There's a gezer. You can't. Till the chuppah, she can't eat kodashim.
Right. And by the way, I'm not sure if I'm correct whether she's allowed to eat the shirayim. I may be mistaken. I know we learned it before, but I don't remember. I know truma she's allowed to eat, but I don't think she's allowed to eat kachim of a kohen. But it's still. But the point is, it has financial value. That's right. Amar Rav Huna. So Rav Huna now says, Shalmei ha'ovdei kochavim olos. So there's a halacha that when a Gentile, now this is a totally new halacha, when a non-Jew wants to bring a korban, even if he says, I want it to be a korban shlamim, which is normally eaten by the bringer, we take the entire animal and we just totally incinerate it. And that's all we do. Now, the question is, why is that? So, ibais ema kra, the ibais ema svara. There's two reasons for this. One is based on a pasuk, and the other one I could offer is logic. Ibais ema svara, obe kochavim libo lashamayim. This is a fascinating insight, that the svara is that when a Gentile engages in religious activity, he views it as completely devoted to heaven. There's no such thing in a Gentile's mind about doing something religious and enjoying it at the same time physically. And therefore, when he brings a korban, his intention is, it's all for God. You know, I either go to church or I watch the football game, but I can't incorporate the physical and the spiritual together. That's the mentality of the rest of the world. There's a unique Jewish ethic, which is you can take the physical and use it for spiritual service. I can have a Shabbos table and enjoy the foods of Shabbos, and you make that into a spiritual experience, or a korban and eat the korban and make that into a spiritual experience. That's a uniquely Jewish ethic, at least in the ancient world. And therefore, the svara is that when a goy brings a korban, his thinking is, my religious devotion is totally for God.
Is he doing it for star?
Sure, why not? He's doing it because he believes in God, he wants to serve God, but his way of serving God is completely to sacrifice it to the Lord.
No, but
okay?
I'm saying, in other words, his benefit, does he view it as I'm getting schar to, that in the...
That's not part of the discussion. Of course he's viewing it that he's getting schar. The point that we're saying is that he doesn't look at getting anything physical back as part of his religious service. The iboy is emakra. But then I could also bring you a pasuk, because there's a pasuk that Chazal darshan as a reference to non-Jews as well as Jews. And it says, Asher yakrivu la'Hashem la'olah. That it says at the end of that pasuk that when they offered to Hashem their olah, this is a reference to non-Jews bringing karbanos. Kol demakarvi olah lihavi. And from that word olah at the end of the pasuk, we learn that whenever a non-Jew brings a karban, it's treated as an olah, purely to be incinerated. So Masiv Rav Chama Bar Guria, so Rav Chama Bar Guria brings the following as a challenge to that. Tosefta says, Obe kochavim shehisnadev lahavi shlamim, nastan li Yisrael Yisrael ochlan, nastan lekohen hakohen ochlan. That if a Gentile pledges to bring a korban shlamim, if he wants to give the meat to a Yisrael, the Yisrael can eat it. If he wants to give the meat to a Kohen, the Kohen can eat it. What you see from here is is that the shlomim that he brings is not totally burnt, but it's eaten. So Amar Rava Hachi Ka'amar. Amenashi iskaper ben Yisrael Yisrael ochlan. Amenashi iskaper ben Kohen Kohen ochlan. You misunderstood the brisa. The brisa is not saying that when the goy himself brings the carbon shlomim, but rather he heard a Yisrael say, I pledge to bring a carbon shlomim. And the goy, out of the goodness of his heart, said, you know what, I'm going to pay for your shlomim. So he plunks down the cash, and he says, I'm paying for this Yisrael shlomim, and the halacha therefore is that the Yisrael eats the meat of that shlomim. And if he pays for a Kohen shlomim, the Kohen eats the meat. But it's not the goy's shlomim. If the goy says, I want to bring a shlomim, then it's not a contradiction. It's treated as an ola. Masav Rav Shizvi. But now Rav Shizvi brings from our Mishnah as a kasha. Elu menachos nikmatzos ushiareihem lekohanim. Minchas ovdei kochavim. The following menachos are subject to kemitza, and who gets the shirayim? The kohen. One of the 10 on the list was what? The mincha of an oved kochavim, of a Gentile. So what do you see from here? That there is a remnant. It's not totally burnt, but there is a remnant that is eaten. So doesn't that contradict what you just said? Amar Rabbi Yochanan lo kasha, ha Rabbi Yossi haglili ha Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Yochanan says it's very simple. It's a machlokes tanoim. And what is that? Where do you see that? Titania ish matam olomar ish l'rabos as ha'ovdei kochavim shenodrim nedarmu nedavos ki Yisrael. Same pasuk that we referenced above, which is a long pasuk that basically says that anyone from the house of Israel or from the converts or from the strangers among Israel who wish to bring a karban l'chol nidreim or l'chol nidvosim for any of their gifts or their pledges, asher yakrivu l'Hashem la'ola, which they will offer to Hashem as an ola. So Rabbi Yossi Haglili understands this to refer to a Gentile who wishes to make a pledge offering. He can completely do that. Asher yakrivu l'Hashem la'ola, if he wants to bring it to Hashem as an ola, ainli ela ola. So that pasuk implies that a Gentile can only bring an ola. Shlomim minayin, how do you know they could also bring a shlomim? Tamulomar nidrehem. The word nidrehem tells me that he can bring a gift offering as a shlomim. Toida minayin, how do you know that he can bring a carbon toad, a thanksgiving offering? Tamulomar nidvaisam, a pledge. Minayin l'rabos ha'ofos v'hayayin v'halavona v'ha'etzim. And how do you know that even if he doesn't want to bring an animal as a sacrifice, but if he wants to bring birds, or even wine libations, or frankincense, or even just to make a wood donation for the Mizbeach, these are all considered to be legitimate karbanos for a Gentile. Tamulomar nidreim l'chol nidreim nidvosam l'chol nidvosam. All of that extra verbiage is inclusive of all of these other things. So imkein matamulomar oila prat l'naziros divrei Rabbi Yossi Haglili. So then why does the Torah specify only ola? It's not to tell you that a goy is limited only to bringing a korban ola, but it's rather to exclude only one thing, that a goy may not bring a korban of a nazir, which we'll explain momentarily means that he's not subject to the laws of nazirus. But that's the point. The point is, according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili, a goy can bring any korban that he wants. He's not limited to only a korban ola. He can bring a korban shlamim, he can bring a bird, he can bring wine as a libation. Everything is on the table for a Gentile, except to a korban nazir. Rabbi Akiva Omer, asher yakrivu l'Hashem la'ola, ein li ella oila bilvad. And Rabbi Akiva disagrees. He says, no, the word ola tells me that a Gentile is limited to only bring a korban ola and nothing else. So that answers our question. The first statement that we made at the top of the Amud that says that a goy can only bring an ola is according to Rabbi Akiva. But the brisa that shows that a goy can bring other kinds of karbanos goes according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili. So now the Gemara is going to question Rabbi Yossi Haglili's statement. He says the word ola is to the exclusion of a goy being able to bring a korban nazir. V'hai prat l'nazirus mehacha nafka mehasam nafka. The fact that a goy can't be a nazir is derived from another pasuk. Daber al b'nei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem ish ki afli lindor neder nazir lahazir. The Torah says, speak to the children of Israel and talk to them about the laws of a person wanting to become a nazir. So why was this long preface given? To teach you that Bnei Yisrael nodrin ve'ena obdei kochavim nodrin. So the answer is to tell you that only a Jew can become a nazir, but a goy cannot become a nazir. So why do you need the pasuk, the word la'ola, to teach me that a goy doesn't bring a korban nazir? So the Gemara answers, I mehacha hava amina korban hu delolai siavol naziris chala alayhu kamash malan. The answer is you need two psukim. You need one pasuk to tell me that if a goy pledges to be a nazir, at the end of his naziris he does not bring a korban. But you need a more fundamental pasuk to tell you that if he pledges to be a nazir, that declaration is null and void. The laws of naziris apply to Jews only, do not apply to a goy. So if a goy says, I hareini nazir, I'm hereby a nazir, it's meaningless. He's still allowed to drink wine. He's still allowed to go to a beis hakvaros because the laws of naziris don't apply to him. But that's why I need two psukim. One, because if I only had one pasuk, I might have thought that he could be a nazir, just that he doesn't bring karbanos. So that's what one pasuk is coming for. But the other pasuk is to tell you that you're bichlal, not a nazir. That's why you need two psukim. Now, next question. Kaman az lahaditnan. According to whom is the following? Now we know we have this machlokus between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi Haglili as to whether a Gentile can bring other karbanos beyond an ola. We have the following question. We see a Mishnah that says, Amar Reb Shimon shivat dvarim hiskinu beistin v'zeh echad mehen. There were 7 takanos that Beistin made for the sake of the preservation of the peace between Jews and Gentiles. And one of the institutions that they said is that Obe kolchavim sheshalach olasam medinas hayam v'shilach ima nesachim kreven mishalo v'imlav kreven mishel tzibur. That if a Gentile sends a korban ola, now normally a korban ola is supposed to be accompanied by a wine libation. If he sent the wine together with his animal, so we use his wine. If he didn't send wine, then we as the Jewish community pay for the wine. Because we don't want a Gentile to feel he's being discriminated against and for anyone to feel like, oh, we're treating the goyim as subpar. So that's why if he doesn't send his wine, we take the wine from the community funds and we use that. Show how much we make accommodations. Right? But the point is, when we look at Rabbi Akiva, Lema Rabbi Yossi Haglili velo Rabbi Akiva, it seems like this goes like Rabbi Yossi Haglili, who says that a goy is allowed to contribute all different kinds of karbanos, because according to Rabbi Akiva, he said that anything that a goy contributes has to be completely incinerated. A wine libation is not incinerated, it's poured onto the altar. But it's not burned, it's placed on the corner into a funnel that goes down into, to the floor of the Beis HaMikdash out into the aqueduct. So it seems like Rabbi Akiva would not agree to this, that the goy has wine libations. So the Gemara says no. Afilu tema Rabbi Akiva ola v'chol chaverta. No, it could be that that's not what Rabbi Akiva meant. It could mean that he meant that a goy can bring a korban ola and its accoutrements. That's what he meant. So therefore, the libation is perfectly fair game for Rabbi Akiva as well. Now, let's look at the next question. Mantana lahadatana rabbanan. There's another brisa. Who does it go according to? Ezrach. Ezrach mevi nesachim ve'ena obe kolchavim mevi nesachim. The Torah talks about the Ezrach. Kol ha'ezrach ya'aseh kacha es ela lahakri v'shei reach nichoach l'Hashem. That every resident of Eretz Yisrael shall conform to the protocol of bringing something that is a savory fragrance to the Lord as a korban. So what do you see from that word Ezrach? That only a resident, a Jew, is allowed to bring libations, but an Obe Kochavim is not allowed to bring libations. Yachalo tehet olaso te'una nisachim tamulomar kacha. You might think that maybe that's all libations, including when he's bringing an accompanying libation to a korban ola that he brings. That he never brings libation? So no, the Torah says kacha. The pasuk is kacha ye'aseh lashor ha'echad ola ayel ha'echad ola seba kivasim va'izim, which means that when you bring a korban ola, you always must have libations with it, which implies that even a goy's korban ola has to have libations. So what this brisa is saying is that he's only not allowed to bring standalone libations. But if it's an accompanying libation to a korban ola, that he does bring. So money, lo Rabbi Yossi Haglili v'lo Rabbi Akiva. This seems to be not like Rabbi Yossi Haglili, nor like Rabbi Akiva, because according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili, remember, what did he say? Completely fair, everything is fair game for a goy. And one of the things that he said is fair game is ophos, yayin, levona, and eitzim. He included wine on his list of what a goy is allowed to bring. And a goy is allowed to bring libations, standalone libations, according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili. So this brisa seems to be not like Rabbi Yossi Haglili. But it's velo Rabbi Akiva. But it can't be Rabbi Akiva either, because again, the Havamina of the Gemara at this point is like the Havamina before. That according to Rabbi Akiva, a goy can only bring something that's incinerated and not libations. So according to whom is this brisa? I Rabbi Yossi Aglili ha'amar afilu yayinam. I Rabbi Akiva ha'amar ola in midi achrina lo. I just spoke out that question. So the Gemara's answer is, I boyes ema Rabbi Yossi Aglili, vi boyes ema Rabbi Akiva. I could really suggest that this brisa goes according to either Rabbi Yossi Aglili or Rabbi Akiva. I boyes ema Rabbi Yossi Aglili sami me'ahi yayin. One, I could say this goes like Rabbi Yossi Aglili. This brisa says that a goy cannot bring standalone libations. Perhaps our version of the brisa that we quoted before is corrupted, and maybe the word yayin has to be removed from that list. And Rabbi Yossi Aglili would agree that everything is fair game as a korban except standalone libations. Maybe that's what Rabbi Yossi Aglili Taka holds. And v'ibo is ema Rabbi Akiva ola v'chol chaverto. Or alternatively, this brisa could go according to Rabbi Akiva, like we suggested before. Yes, it's true, Rabbi Akiva limits a goy's karbanos to an ola, but not to the exclusion of the accoutrements of the ola. That you bring also, not when you bring an ola as a goy, you also bring the libations together with the karban ola. So the brisa could be according to Rabbi Akiva. Let's go on. We learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Omer minchas chote shel kohanim v'chule. Rabbi Shimon had said that even when a kohen is bringing a sin offering of his own, he still does kemitza, even though both the kemitza and the shirayim are going to be burnt on the mizbeach. Now, someone had asked the question yesterday, I think it was Rabbi Black, had asked, what, is it the kohen himself who brings his own sin offering, or is it another kohen? And is the halacha the same? So the Gemara today is going to clarify. The halacha is, whenever it's a minchas chote of a kohen, it's totally incinerated, all the flour is incinerated, and it's optional for the kohen who's bringing it if he wants to bring it himself or not. He can either designate another kohen to bring it for him, or he can bring it even himself. And we're going to learn that out from the psukim. Minahani mili. So how do you know that no matter what, you burn everything even though you're doing kemitza? The Tana Rabbanan v'haisala kohen kamincha shetehei avodasa kishay rabo. So the brisa starts off by saying that the kohen's sin offering shall be like a mincha. And what that teaches us, that just like I can bring a mincha for someone else, I can also bring a mincha for myself. That's what the pasuk is teaching me, that I as a kohen who am bringing a minchas chote can bring the mincha myself. Ata omer shetei avodasa kishay rabo, o ena elo lahatra minchas chote shel kohanim. Maybe I'll tell you that that's not what the pasuk means. Maybe the pasuk means that just like when I bring a mincha for someone else, I can eat the shirayim, so too when I bring my own sin offering, I can eat the shirayim. Or that you can eat the shirayim of a minchas chote of a kohen. So, umani mekayim v'chol minchas kohen kalil tiyeh lo se'achel, minchas nidvaso, aval chavaso tehei ne'acheles. And what about the pasuk that says that the entire mincha of a kohen must be burnt? That's referring to a voluntary offering of a kohen. But the obligatory offering of a kohen, because he did an aveira, like he went into the Beis HaMikdash in a state of tumah, for which he has to bring a mincha, maybe that, the shirayim do go to the kohanim. So therefore, Talmud Lomar v'haisala kohen kamincha, makish chovaso l'nidvaso. Ma nidvaso ena ne'acheles, af chovaso ena ne'acheles. So therefore, the same pasuk teaches me, the way that it's phrased is v'haisala kohen kamincha, that it shall belong to the kohen like a mincha, that just like any mincha of the kohens has to be totally incinerated, so too the sin offering of a kohen has to be totally incinerated. And therefore, what does the pasuk really teach me? It teaches me that even though a minchas chote of a kohen always has to be burnt, it is the option of the kohen who's bringing the sin offering. If he wants to bring it himself, he can. If he wants to let another kohen bring it, he can. That's the first part of the brisa. Next part of the brisa, Amar Reb Shimon v'chi namar v'haisala kohen kemincha so v'halolo namar ela kemincha. So Reb Shimon says the way you're reading it, the pasuk should have said kemincha so. That if you tell me the Torah is connecting all of the menachos of the kohen to each other to tell you that they're all incinerated equally, the Torah should have said v'hayisala kohen kemincha so, like his minchas nedava. But it doesn't say that. It says that the kohen's sin offering shall be like a generic mincha that he's bringing for somebody else. So what does that teach you? Ela lahakish minchas chote shel kohanim keminchas chote shel Yisrael. Ma minchas chote shel Yisrael nikmetzes, af minchas chote shel kohanim nikmetzes. It's coming to teach me a totally different halacha, says Reb Shimon. That just like when I as a kohen bring a mincha for a Yisrael, I have to do kemitza in order for it to be kosher, so too I have to do kemitza for a kohen sin offering in order for it to be kosher. So wait a minute, if you're comparing it to a mincha of a Yisrael, ima minchas chote shel Yisrael nikmetzes ushiyareha ne'echolin, af minchas chote shel kohanim nikmetzes ushiyareha ne'echolin. Well, by that token, if you're comparing it to a Yisrael's mincha, then why don't you say that not only is a minchas chote of a kohen subject to kemitza, but also just like the shirayim of a Yisrael's mincha are eaten by a kohen, so too the shirayim of a kohen's mincha are eaten by a kohen. Why don't you say that? So therefore, Talmud Lomar la kohen kamincha velo leishim kamincha. So therefore, the pasuk says no. It is only for the kohen as a mincha. In other words, vis-a-vis the actions of a kohen, it is identical to the mincha that he brings for a Yisrael. So just like the action that I do as a kohen for a Yisrael requires kemitza, so too the actions of a kohen for a mincha of a kohen require kemitza, but not for the fire. What that means is that even though for a minchas Yisrael only the kometz goes on the fire, but the rest are eaten, you don't make that analogy to the mincha of a kohen. It's not the same thing as far as what is burnt on the mizbeach. For a minchas Yisrael, only the kometz is burnt on the mizbeach. For a minchas chote of a kohen, the entire thing is burnt on the mizbeach, and that's what the Gemara speaks out. Hakeitzad kometz korev ba'atzmo v'shirayim karevin ba'atzman. That for a minchas chote of a kohen, the kometz and the shirayim are burnt on the mizbeach, but they're just burnt separately. So after you do the kemitza, you put the kometz on the mizbeach, you put the shirayim on the mizbeach, and they're all burnt. And that's how Reb Shimon knows that you need to do kemitza, even though it's all going to be burnt anyway. And this is where we'll hold it for today. Have a great day.